The bright sun shone over Bondi Beach on a warm December afternoon, a day that should have been filled with laughter, sandcastles, and the sound of waves crashing. But suddenly, everything changed. Gunshots erupted in the middle of a holiday event called Hanukkah by the sea. People screamed and ran in every direction, children crying as parents grabbed them, and strangers ducked behind umbrellas, beach chairs, or anything that could shield them. The air was thick with fear and confusion. A 10-year-old girl named Matilda clung tightly to her mother, unable to understand why such terror had arrived in the middle of a sunny celebration. Around them, the peaceful beach turned into chaos. The sound of sirens began to echo from nearby streets as emergency responders rushed to the scene. The crowd scattered like leaves in the wind, each person trying to survive, unsure if they would see another moment. Amid the panic, witnesses would later describe acts of courage. Strangers pushed children to safety, carried the injured, and comforted those frozen with shock. One man tackled one of the attackers, risking his life to stop further harm. But even as bravery shone through, the attack claimed lives, including elders, adults, and children. Matilda was among them. Her family was left with a heartbreak they could not imagine. Her aunt later shared her grief in simple words, saying, "I don't know how we survive such grief." It was a moment no one could prepare for. A joyful afternoon transformed into tragedy in minutes. As police began securing the area, the details of the attack started to emerge. Two men, a father and son, had carried out the shooting. One was shot at the scene by law enforcement, and the other was taken to a hospital in critical condition. The attack targeted the Jewish community attending the Hanukkah celebration, and the motive was confirmed to be terroristic. Across Sydney, families watched news reports in disbelief, trying to grasp how such violence could happen on a beach full of families and children. The reality sank in slowly, leaving a mix of sorrow, fear, and anger. Even amid the tragedy, small moments of hope and humanity appeared. Ahmed, a bystander, rushed toward danger to protect children, becoming a symbol of courage in the chaos. Parents clutched their children tightly, whispering words of comfort despite their own fear. Emergency crews worked quickly, treating the wounded and guiding terrified people away from danger. Every action told a story of human bravery and survival. Yet the shadow of loss hung heavily over the beach. The news quickly confirmed that at least 16 people had been killed and dozens more injured, with the youngest victim being Matilda. As night approached, the world tried to process the scale of what had happened. Families grieved, candles were lit, and flowers placed on the sand. The beach, once a place of joy, was now marked by fear and sorrow. And yet, questions loomed over the city. How could such a tragedy happen in a place where children played and families gathered? Was it truly over, or was danger still lurking nearby? In the hearts of those who survived, a chilling awareness remained. And for Matilda's family, the days ahead would be filled with pain, memory, and the haunting question of how to survive such sudden and senseless loss. The story of the day terror struck Bondi Beach had only just begun, and the answers were yet to come. The morning after the Bondi Beach Terror Attack, the beach was quiet and almost empty. The usual sounds of laughter, waves, and seagulls were replaced by the flashing lights of police cars and ambulances. Investigators moved carefully across the sand, marking evidence and photographing the scene. Police tape cordoned off the area, keeping curious onlookers and media at a safe distance. Families returned to the site, some to search for belongings, others to leave flowers and messages for the victims. Among the names being spoken in whispers was Matilda, the 10-year-old girl whose life had been cut tragically short. Her small, joyful presence on the beach that afternoon was now a heartbreaking memory. Authorities revealed more details about the attackers. The father and son duo had planned the attack over months, choosing the Hanukkah celebration intentionally. They brought multiple firearms and intended to target as many people as possible. The police confirmed that one attacker was shot at the scene while the other was hospitalized in critical condition. The news sent a shiver through Sydney. How could something so violent and deliberate happen in a place meant for families and celebration? The city struggled to understand the horror. Amid the grief, stories of heroism emerged. Witnesses described a man named Ahmed who ran toward danger, pulling children and adults out of harm's way. Parents clutched their children tightly, refusing to let go. Emergency responders worked tirelessly, moving the injured on stretchers and rushing them to hospitals. Doctors and nurses faced an overwhelming number of patients with injuries ranging from shock and broken bones to gunshot wounds. Despite the tragedy, acts of courage reminded everyone that even in the darkest moments, humans can shine.
Matilda's family and friends were left trying to process the unthinkable. Her parents, once planning holiday celebrations and summer outings, now faced a silence they could not break. Her aunt described her as a bright, happy child who loved life, and her loss was felt deeply by the entire community. Every detail about her day on the beach, the sandcastles, the laughter, the waves, now carried an unbearable sadness. Families who had escaped with their children embraced each other tightly, sharing the grief that could not be contained. Across Sydney, vigils and memorials began to form. Candles flickered in the late afternoon breeze, flowers were laid along the sand, and handwritten notes of sorrow and remembrance were left behind. Community leaders spoke about the importance of unity and support for those affected. The city tried to find comfort in togetherness, but the question lingered in everyone's mind. Could this happen again? Could another attack strike a place meant for peace and joy? Investigations continued at a rapid pace. Police and forensic teams examined every inch of the scene to understand how the attackers carried out their plan. Witness testimonies were collected, and authorities worked to prevent further incidents. The scale of the tragedy became clearer. 16 people dead, dozens injured, and countless lives shaken forever. News outlets focused on the youngest victim, Matilda, highlighting the innocence that had been stolen. Her story touched hearts across Australia and around the world. As night fell on the city, a quiet tension remained. Bondi Beach, usually a place of freedom and fun, felt different, as though the memory of the attack lingered in the sand and surf. Families walked home holding their children tightly. Strangers comforted each other, and emergency lights continued to flash in the distance. The horror of the day had ended, but the aftermath had only just begun. Questions about safety, grief, and recovery hung heavy in the air. And somewhere in Sydney, Matilda's family faced the hardest reality: how to move forward in a world that had suddenly become so frightening. The story of courage, loss, and resilience was far from over, and the next chapter would reveal more about the people affected and the ongoing struggle to heal. The days after the Bondi Beach Terror Attack were filled with grief, shock, and unanswered questions. Families tried to return to some sense of normal life, but nothing felt the same. The beach, once full of laughter and sunlight, remained quiet. Police and investigators continued their work, examining every detail to understand how the attack had happened. Evidence markers dotted the sand, umbrellas and beach chairs were scattered, and the air felt heavy with loss. Among all the victims, the name that weighed on everyone's hearts was Matilda, the 10-year-old girl whose life had ended in an instant. Families, friends, and neighbors shared her story, remembering the brightness she had brought into the world and the unfairness of her loss. Authorities confirmed that the father and son attackers had planned the shooting carefully, choosing the Hanukkah event because it was a gathering of the Jewish community. One of the attackers was killed by police at the scene, and the other was hospitalized. The news sent shockwaves across Australia. People struggled to understand how anyone could commit such a violent act in a place meant for families and celebration. The tragedy also raised concerns about security and safety at public events, leaving communities on edge and questioning how such horror could be prevented in the future. Even amid the sadness, stories of courage continued to emerge. Witnesses spoke about strangers who risked their lives to protect children, pulled the injured to safety, and comforted those terrified by the chaos. Ahmed, the man who had tackled one of the attackers, became a symbol of bravery and selflessness. Parents held their children tightly, never letting go, as the memory of that terrifying afternoon lingered. First responders and medical staff worked tirelessly, treating injuries and providing reassurance, showing that even in the darkest moments, humanity can shine. Across Sydney, memorials and vigils were held. Candles flickered in the night, flowers were laid on the sand, and messages of support covered community boards. Leaders urged unity and solidarity, emphasizing that hatred and fear would not define the city. Families who had lost loved ones, including Matilda's parents, spoke about their sorrow and the struggle to carry on. Her aunt shared stories of Matilda's laughter, her love of sandcastles, and the joy she brought to everyone around her. These memories became a way to honor her life and keep her spirit alive, even as the pain of her loss remained unbearable. The attack had left a lasting mark on the city. Bondi Beach, known for its beauty and lively crowds, now carried the weight of tragedy. Parents whispered prayers over their children, strangers comforted one another, and the community slowly began to rebuild a sense of safety. Yet questions persisted. Could this happen again? How could families find peace after losing loved ones so suddenly? The answers were not easy, and the process of healing would take time. Despite the grief, the events of that day taught a powerful lesson. Stories of courage, selflessness, and resilience spread across the nation. Ordinary people had performed extraordinary acts to save lives. Communities had come together to mourn and support each other. And even in the face of terror, the world was reminded that hope and humanity can survive alongside tragedy. As the sun rose over Bondi Beach in the days that followed, the city remembered the victims, especially Matilda, whose life ended far too soon. Families hugged their children tighter, strangers offered kindness, and the memory of bravery remained. The beach would eventually see laughter and sunlight again, but the events of that December day would never be forgotten. And in the hearts of everyone who heard her story, a young girl's spirit lived on, a reminder of the preciousness of life, the strength of courage, and the need to stand together in the face of unimaginable tragedy.